right, we're starting off this episode a little different. One of the things that we haven't really talked about is that we did live a long time in Corpus Christi, but that's not where we're both from. I hope y'all can hear this okay. I'm actually from Lafayette, Louisiana, and Alan is from East Texas, Marshall. And today we are in Bandera, Texas for the Mardi Gras parade. So I had to come check it out. They're having big parade, gumbo cook-off, bunch of bands playing. Wayne Toops is playing tonight. So we're gonna be here for all of that, and we're gonna get our little take on the Mardi Gras parade here, see how they can measure up to South Louisiana. We'll take y'all along, drop in some sights and sounds, and then we'll meet y'all back at the rig for a little recap. Talk to y'all soon.
Welcome to 99 Adventures, the podcast where the campsite stories are all about the RV lifestyle. We're your hosts, Alan and Kim, fellow lovers of all things RV living. Here on 99 Adventures, we explore the highs and hiccups of life on wheels, whether it's discovering hidden gems off the beaten path or tackling the realities of RV living. But we're not just about the travel, we're about the taste, too. In every episode, we'll cook up something special right from the RV kitchen or campsite. So get hooked up, grab your skillet, and let's hit the road. It's time for 99 Adventures, where the journey and the flavors never stop.
Here is a native Louisiana crew from the hometown of Wayne Toops, proudly in Louisiana. They share the Mardi Gras spirit.
We're doing it right here. Oh, that's what they do in Mobile.
In the Plymouth Coop is Kinmatic's president, Joey Kosmowski, vice president.
The moon pie.
Yay!
The Bandera Chamber.
Shout out to our Mobile folks who put the moon pies on the map.
Novel by Larry McMurtry.
All right. Well, we're back in the rig.
Yep.
From our little adventure, Mardi Gras parade in Bandera, Texas. But before we get going on that and talking about that,
What's cooking?
that's right, because I'm the one cooking today.
She can cook.
I can,
Yes, a little bit.
but y'all just watch. He will be over here taking over in no time.
No. Not this time.
Not this time?
No.
Okay. We'll see. Today, we are making crawfish etouffee to go along with
Oh, Mardi Gras.
Mardi Gras.
theme.
We are thick in the Mardi Gras season as we record this. And so that's what we're going to be cooking is crawfish etouffee. I've got butter melting right here in the pan, and I'm about to saute up some crawfish tails. And just FYI, when you go to buy crawfish tails, be sure to check them. You can get them in the frozen food section, but look at them. They need to say certified Cajun, and they don't need to say that they were made in China. If that's what it says, put them back.
Crawfish really technically weren't made in China. They get processed in China, and it's really not the Cajun way per se. We like to get the frozen ones that were processed and grown in Louisiana, deep south Texas, around Houston, Beaumont, Port Arthur area, and on into Louisiana. They just know what they're doing.
Right.
So we stick to the Acadiana Crawfish Company generally.
Yep.
And stay away from that China stuff. So I hope we don't offend anybody by that, but that's just keeping it real, right?
So, okay. Mardi Gras in Bandera, Texas. I have to say, we had a great time. I'm just going to do a little bit of background on Mardi Gras. First of all, when I saw this, that Bandera was going to have a Mardi Gras parade and a whole weekend of music and all of this stuff, I knew...
The gumbo cook-off.
I knew I wanted to just see how they do it, see how they measure up. That's one of the things about RV life, like just really embracing the community that you're in. I was born and raised in South Louisiana, grew up going to Mardi Gras parades, and it may not be exactly what you thought, but hey, some things might surprise you.
For sure.
So,
for sure.
We were definitely surprised. Okay, so just for those of you who may not really know what Mardi Gras is, and how it began, I thought I'd give a little bit of a background, and I'm going to read some of this stuff to y'all. Found an excerpt from the Daily Advertiser newspaper, which is in Lafayette, Louisiana, and kind of where it originated from and where the colors came from. The purple, gold, and green colors are the symbolic colors of the Mardi Gras tradition. Basically, this kind of started way back in the late 1800s, and the Grand Duke of Russia was coming during carnival season. And this is how it started, carnival season. Earl Laborde, he's an historian, and he wrote a book, and he says that he has a theory about where these colors came from. And basically, he says that they were based on heraldry, the system of which coats of arms and other armoral bearings are devised, described, and regulated. The rule of tincture states that metals, gold or silver, should not be placed next to each other, and colors should also not be placed next to each other. Although the colors are now typically displayed in purple, green, and gold, right? And that really doesn't go with the rule of tincture. One of the original Mardi Gras associations out of New Orleans, the Rex organization, might have been trying to create a tricolor to represent its kingdom. And when there's a kingdom, there's always flag and kings, and we'll get to that too. Purple is widely associated with royalty. Both metals and colors are necessary in a coat of arms according to the heraldry system. So then gold was just obvious. Another obvious choice was picked. And then there was really no documented reason why they chose green, other than maybe they were just looking at the color wheel, or it wasn't a color that was widely used by on some other flags and things like that. So purple means justice, green means faith, and gold means power. Mardi Gras happens during carnival season, which takes place in all over the world. Rio de Janeiro has big carnival season, Italy, all of that. And it's the carnival season leading up to Lent. And so Mardi Gras is the day before, it's Fat Tuesday. It is the day before Ash Wednesday, which is the beginning of the Lenten season, which lasts for 6 weeks until Good Friday and Easter. That's the traditional kind of where it started. And then in South Louisiana, far South Louisiana, where I'm from, it's a little different, where the Cajuns, which were originally from Nova Scotia, kind of where they originated from. So Mardi Gras was called Courir de Mardi Gras, which just means Mardi Gras run. And I probably did not say that right. The Mardi Gras run, basically participants would get on horseback, and they would, or wagons or by foot or whatever, and they would go from farm to farm and collect ingredients for a big communal gumbo. And they would dress in like colorful costumes and masks, and maybe a big hat, like cone-shaped type hat, and they would get the ingredients. And then the capitaine, which is the captain of the parade, would release chickens. And of course, these people had been, having fun, having
Let it saute.
fun and having a drink or two or more. And so it was quite the comedy of them trying to chase those chickens and catch them for the gumbo, because the main ingredient for gumbo in South Louisiana is chicken, as well as sausage. That is kind of where the differences between the two kind of celebrations of carnival season and what they look like. And the Mardi Gras run still takes place in a lot of the little towns around Lafayette, even today. Church Point, Eunice, Mamou, they still do this, where the individuals, the participants, they dress up in the costumes and they kind of go around. There's usually a music associated with it, maybe a band on a trailer type stuff. And they go around and to get ingredients and beg for the ingredients for the gumbo. They still do it the traditional way, just to kind of pay tribute to where the Mardi Gras originated.
For those of you that do not know, Mardi Gras didn't, even though it's one of the biggest, if not the biggest thing in Louisiana, celebration-wise, Mardi Gras actually did not originate in Louisiana.
Yeah, it's a big debate.
So it's a big debate. History will say that actually Mardi Gras started in Mobile, Alabama. Mobile, Alabama, of all places. And so while Mardi Gras is huge in Louisiana and New Orleans, and as far as I'm concerned, they do it like no other. It actually originated in Mobile, Alabama.
Yeah.
So, and then from Mobile, Alabama to Bandera, Texas.
Yes.
Right.
Because what the other thing we haven't really divulged on this is that I went to high school and some of my college in Mobile. So I lived there for 8 years. So I've been able to experience Mardi Gras in Mobile, in Lafayette, in Mamou, even in Corpus. They have Barefoot Mardi Gras. And then this past weekend in Bandera, Texas. So that's been really, really neat to see how everybody does it. What else would we talk about? Yeah. So, how do you think the parade, just the parade, measured up, Alan, to Mardi Gras elsewhere?
I thought it was outstanding. They had a little over 100 floats in this parade, which is as far as I'm concerned, is a relatively large parade, especially for Bandera, right? With a population of 937, there was 937 just on the floats alone.
Yeah.
So I don't even know where all these people came from, but 937, there was easily the entire street, I would have to say,
Main Street, yeah.
8,000 to 10,000 people.
Yeah. They said the weather was not great. It was cold, cloudy.
It was 44.
Yeah.
Maybe a light rain every now and then, but it was manageable.
Yeah.
But this town of 937 swelled to over 10,000 people. It just goes to show you that they do put on a good party, and people have recognized that over the years. There was RVs stacked up and down the road where
everywhere.
People came in for the weekend or for the week, and just flooded Bandera, supporting the local community. That Mardi Gras actually supports 100% of the proceeds go to their annual rodeo that Bandera puts on. And so it's some kind of rodeo association. And from what I could see, they have funding for a long time, because there was a lot of money pumped into that local community for 3 days, including ours.
Lots of RVers just everywhere. And they had their golf carts and stuff like that, because there are quite a few RV parks very close to the center of town. I'm going to stop for just a minute. I am sauteing bell pepper, onion, and celery.
What is that called?
Holy Trinity.
Yes.
But you can't have the Holy Trinity, in my opinion, without garlic. So the garlic's in here too. And I've seasoned it up quite a bit. And I am going to dump these crawfish tails back in here and simmer this so it can cook down. Okay. My personal opinion is I also think they did a really good job. I'm also adding water and cornstarch. I'm using the Tony Chachere's recipe. I don't have my recipe books, and I do have Tony Chachere recipe book.
There's a lot of cornstarch in there.
And so I had to look it up, and I'm like, wait a minute, this isn't how I do this. And because I don't make this often, so I need a recipe. And it's really easy. You really don't need a recipe, but I do. Saffron was like, oh no, this is ridiculous. So I Googled the Tony Chachere's one. I'm like, this is what I'm used to making. So yes, there are other recipes with tomato sauce and red bell peppers and chicken stock or seafood stock and all that. I don't know how to make that. I just know how to make it the Tony Chachere way. Anyway, okay, so we're going to let this simmer, and we're going to go back to talking about the parade. I felt like they did an excellent job. Two things, though, that surprised me. And one you don't know about because I just thought about it today. But the biggest one was when you think about Mardi Gras and you think about floats, you really have that New Orleans float in mind, the very elaborate ones. They have tiers. There's beautiful costumes. Sometimes the court is on them. They have all these beautiful dresses. And so...
Yeah, you ain't getting that in Bandera.
That's not
you
how
ain't
it
getting
is.
that in Bandera.
No.
But with all that said, all that aside, it was still excellent.
Oh, it was.
It was still excellent. So anybody that is in Bandera or around here having to see this, we're not bashing it at all.
Oh, no.
No,
was
y'all did an outstanding job, and I just want to throw that out there.
In South Louisiana, New Orleans, Mobile, they have Mardi Gras associations. They're called crews. And so each association, especially in Mobile and New Orleans, they have 2 weeks of parades every night, just about every night, leading up to Mardi Gras Day. Lafayette has a couple of parades. They take a little break, and then a few days leading up, they have parades every night. And those crews, they work all year. This association, they work together to develop the floats for the parade, the theme, that kind of thing. Normally, each crew has and this is crew spelled Krewe, okay? A crew, Mardi Gras crew. They usually have someone that's named the king or queen, or they have a name for it or whatever. That's the leader for the year. So this is a little different. This is more like a hometown Mardi Gras parade. So the other thing I realized that was missing. The one thing was missing. The band. The high school bands are always involved in the Mardi Gras parades. In Mobile, in Lafayette, I mean, always. Like you would see at the Rose Parade or whatever. There was no marching band.
Yeah,
Or like in New Orleans, they walk around, play the trumpet, play all kinds of instruments and stuff, and they walk in the parade or whatever. And I think that's the one thing that's missing that I was used to in the other parades.
Different area, different things.
Yeah. But it's funny because one of the best floats, decorated wise, was one from Louisiana. It was from Crowley, Louisiana. But yeah, excellent job. It was easy to get to. We just happened to park at the museum, the Frontier Museum here in Bandera, or there in Bandera. And we just walked a couple of blocks. We were right at the courthouse. They had someone announcing each of the floats to talk about who they were. That was kind of interesting. There was a lot of local businesses in the parade. I think they probably use it as their good advertising for people who come there. And it was family friendly. There was lots of beads, doubloons, footballs, candy, all kinds of things thrown. And the float from Crowley was the one that threw the moon pies. And so that is something I will say I was not used to seeing moon pies thrown at Mardi Gras parades until we moved to Mobile and started going to the Mardi Gras parades there. Wow. And I don't know. I don't think I'd be sitting on that sink like that.
Wow.
I would not.
It's fine.
Okay. There was even moon pies, which was really cool. It's a really cool thing. After the parade, we walked down to the 11th Street Cowboy Bar and Grill is who puts this whole thing on, or they host it. And that's where all the bands were at. They had bands on Friday night, all day Saturday, and even on Sunday a little bit. No, I take that back. Thursday night, Friday night, and all day Saturday, not on Sunday. And that is also where the gumbo cook-off was at. There was, I don't know, we don't even know how many.
I would say at least
15, 20.
15 to 20 teams that were in the gumbo cook-off. And then so the gumbo cook-off was actually right across the street and on that street. And then you walked in with these swinging Western doors.
Yeah, like you're walking into a saloon.
You're walking into an old-timey saloon.
Yeah.
And then you just walk into this holy grail of just awesomeness. And the setting of this place was just absolutely amazing. It was a decked area with huge oak trees growing through it. It's completely fenced off. You cannot see the road.
They have a stage.
Big, huge stage to accommodate almost any kind of band. Mm-hmm. I made a comment that, with the bands that were there and the music that they were playing, that if someone was to have dropped you off from a helicopter with a blindfold on and dropped you right in the middle of that venue, there was no way you would have known that you were in Bandera, Texas. That's how good of a show and festival that they actually put on. Definitely making plans for going back next year.
Okay, that was going to be my question.
Yeah, definitely making plans.
Are we going to do this again next year?
Yeah, definitely making plans for going back next year. Going to get our own little crew together and make a weekend out of it and just embrace it. But the whole point of this segment is to talk about and go over embracing being where you're at, regardless of whether that is on a lake or on a river or whatever. Supporting the community that you are in and around, it's a good experience for you because you get to see different things, kind of mom and pop-ish type stuff. But at the end of the day, it's also equally, if not more important to those local businesses. They rely so much on people like us that travel around spending their money to support them and whatnot. So really that's the whole gist of the segment today, is to talk about just that, right? And I mentioned it earlier about how much money probably got pumped into that Bandera Rodeo Association and economy.
It's the local economy.
I wish I knew the dollar amount, but because it was hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars that went into that Bandera City Council or whatever you want to call it. And for a town that size, that's huge money for them. Yeah. Huge money for them. So regardless of where you're at, whether it's at a national park or a small town, get out and support them. They really rely on that stuff, and it's important to them. It's enriching to you and your family.
And I would say if you're interested or you want to do Mardi Gras in South Louisiana, check out Lafayette Parish Tourism, Acadia Parish Tourism. They have a listing of all the parades, festivals, and everything that goes on around the Mardi Gras season, and tons of RV parks and stuff around the area. Check out that. And they're all family friendly, even the ones in Mobile. I know New Orleans can get a little crazy, but definitely those other places have fun, family friendly Mardi Gras parades. And like I said, the Barefoot Mardi Gras on Padre Island in Corpus, it's a good time. People get out they do it on the beach. They decorate their golf carts. It's a good fun time. And it is also a fundraiser for a school there on the island. So most of this stuff does go back into the community in some way, shape, form, or fashion. So But I wanted to also touch on the food because we're not just about the travel. Remember, we're about the flavors too. And so some of the top, I say the top 3 foods for Mardi Gras foods. Number 1, gumbo. Just like Bandera had the gumbo cook-off. That's a big thing that goes on. The other one, I don't know, it might even be bigger, is king cake. And if you've never had king cake, it's done 2 different ways. The way that I like and the way that I'm used to is it's the breading. It's a cake made out of a leftover dough. And then you can get them plain or you can get them stuffed with like Bavarian cream or strawberry or lemon or chocolate, that kind of stuff. Then it's got the like cream cheese icing over it, that kind of thing. And then the other way that I've seen it made is it's like a cinnamon roll. And then still with the cream cheese or icing on top. And then, of course, the king cake comes with a little baby, and that's inserted into the cake. And whoever ends up with that slice or piece of the cake that has the baby in it, you're on deck to bring the king cake next year. That's the rule. The other thing that's real popular is around Mardi Gras is it's the kickoff for crawfish season. And of course, that's very big in South Louisiana. This gets them going and gets the crawfish season going. And that pretty much lasts until the first, maybe the middle of May. And so that leads all the way into Easter and through the Lent season and all of that. That was the other thing I wanted to just talk about, were the foods that were associated around. And of course, crawfish etouffee, which is what we're cooking today. Was there anything else that we wanted to touch on?
No, kind of some off-topic things. We had, as we've talked about, I think we talked about the fixes that we've had to go through on this unit, and finally got the furnace fixed. And we thought, man, that's going to be great. We talked about the pipes freezing, and once we get the furnace going, then we won't have that problem anymore. Well, not so much. We had a couple of days, mornings, nights that were hit down into 19, 18, 17 range, and sure enough, frozen pipes. And that's with the furnace running. I got to get under there when we have some nicer weather to pull those panels off and find out what is lacking under there in regards to insulation and get that fixed for the next cold season. I think we're pretty much going to start coming out of our winter here in South Texas. And so maybe 1 or 2 more freezes. I doubt it. It's going to get pretty close to it, but I don't believe it's going to be any pipe freezing. Taking showers at night, planning ahead, thinking outside the box again. We've talked about that before. You got to think a little bit differently in an RV. The other thing that is really cool, again, it's completely off topic, but we've got 2 wiener dogs. We've talked about them before, and here in the RV park, and we had another couple that is from Idaho that pulled in, and they had a beagle, and that dog was amazing. He was trained amazing. He was just a good dog. And one of the things that they used was a collar. It's actually a shock collar.
The Garmin brand. Mm-hmm.
And if that dog went off away from them at any that they didn't feel comfortable with, they would hit the beeping, because it actually has 3 settings on it: a beeping, a vibration, and a shocking mechanism for training purposes. And they would just hit the beeper and he'd come right back. So I wanted to give a plug to our new system. It's called Jugbo. It comes with a remote, and this system came with 2 collars, and we've started with our dogs, training them. And it also has the 3 settings on it, and we have yet to use the shocking mechanism.
All we've had to do is use
beeping sound, and that is enough for them to come back and stay at my feet. I've been going every day after I get home and take them for a walk off leash in the RV park.
Well, not in the main RV park, and down in a section that's.
But eventually we'll get there, and it's just been great. I cannot believe the reaction that we're getting from older dogs. They always say you can't teach an old dog new tricks. That's not true, because these things have been amazing so far. But anyway, I wanted to give that plug out to this system that we bought. I think we're pretty much wrapped, right?
Yeah, I'm just gonna make rice, and this is my favorite, the Cajun country rice on the hot one. But this one's my favorite, so if you can find it, get it. Okay, yeah, I'm just getting the water boiling because can't have crawfish etouffee without rice. And just like that, another journey comes to a close on 99 Adventures. So join us in a toast. Here's to RV life, tasty meals, and adventures still to come.
Peace.
Enjoy your next adventure, and bon appetit.